-40. That's not wind chill, that's actual air temperature in parts of Canada right now. And that Arctic air mass is connected to a low-pressure system that's going to force it straight into the United States over the next week. -20 wind chills in Minnesota by Thursday, -30 possible by Friday. At -20, exposed skin gets frostbite in 30 minutes. At -30, frostbite in 10 minutes. At -40, frostbite in 5 minutes. Your skin literally freezes. The tissue dies. Permanently. This isn't "it's chilly, wear a jacket" cold. This is "you can die if you're not prepared" cold. And at the 9-minute mark, I'm walking through exactly what happens to your body at different cold temperatures and how to recognize the warning signs before it's too late. At the 17-minute mark, I'm explaining what to do if your heat fails during the coldest period and how to survive until help arrives. If you could comment your city and state, it helps me understand who's facing this dangerous cold and who needs this survival information most urgently. December 31st, 2025. And we're about to enter the coldest period many areas have seen in years. Let me start with the big picture so you understand the scope of what's coming. A massive Arctic air mass is positioned over northern Canada right now. This air has spent weeks over frozen tundra and ice pack. It's had time to become extremely cold. And a powerful low-pressure system over Hudson Bay is going to pull this air straight south into the United States. This isn't a quick cold snap. This is sustained Arctic cold that will dominate weather across the northern tier of the United States for at least 5 to 7 days, possibly longer. The cold arrives in waves. First wave hits Minnesota and Wisconsin Wednesday night into Thursday. By Friday, it spreads into Michigan, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and northern Ohio. By Saturday, it extends into the Northeast. Temperature forecasts show highs in the single digits or teens for much of the upper Midwest Thursday through Saturday. Overnight lows below zero, possibly -10 to -15 in some locations. These are dangerous temperatures even before you factor in wind. Wind makes it worse, much worse. Wind constantly replaces warm air near your skin with cold air. This accelerates heat loss from your body. A temperature of 0 degrees with no wind is uncomfortable. A temperature of 0 degrees with 30-mile-per-hour winds creates a wind chill of -19 degrees. That's the difference between discomfort and danger. The National Weather Service issues wind chill warnings when wind chills reach -25 or colder. At these temperatures, frostbite risk is extreme. Hypothermia risk is high. Being outside becomes genuinely dangerous. Minnesota, you're looking at wind chills of -20 to -30 Friday morning. Some areas could approach -35. Wisconsin, northern Michigan, similar values. These are life-threatening conditions if you're not prepared. But cold isn't just a problem for people who go outside. It's a problem for anyone whose home heating fails. And extreme cold stresses heating systems in ways that can cause failures. Furnaces that have been running fine all winter can fail during extreme cold because they're working constantly without rest. The strain reveals weaknesses, parts that were marginal break. And suddenly you're without heat when you need it most. Power outages also happen during extreme cold. Demand on the electrical grid spikes as everyone runs heaters at maximum capacity. Sometimes the grid can't handle it. Brownouts or blackouts result. Ice on power lines from earlier storms can cause failures. High winds during cold snaps can blow down lines. If your heat fails or if power goes out, you need to know how to survive until it's restored. Because at -20 wind chill, your home will lose heat rapidly. Within hours, indoor temperatures can drop below freezing. So let me walk through cold survival information that could save your life. First, understand what cold does to your body. Your body maintains a core temperature of about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. When your core temperature drops even a few degrees, you experience hypothermia. When it drops below 95 degrees, you're in medical emergency territory. Your body has mechanisms to fight cold. Shivering is the first response. Your muscles contract rapidly to generate heat. This works for a while, but it's exhausting and it burns energy fast. If you're shivering uncontrollably, Your body is telling you it's losing the battle against cold. Get inside immediately. As hypothermia progresses, shivering stops. This is not good. This means your body has exhausted its ability to generate heat through muscle activity. The next stage is confusion, slurred speech, loss of coordination. People in this stage often make fatal decisions like removing clothing because they feel hot even though they're freezing. This is called paradoxical undressing. If you find someone who's confused, stumbling, or has stopped shivering in cold conditions, this is a medical emergency. Get them inside. Warm them gradually, not rapidly. Remove wet clothing. Wrap them in blankets. Give them warm drinks if they're conscious and able to swallow. Call 911. Severe hypothermia requires medical treatment. Frostbite is different from hypothermia. Frostbite is localized tissue damage from freezing. It typically affects fingers, toes, nose, ears, and cheeks, areas with poor circulation and high exposure. Early-stage frostbite, called frostnip, causes numbness and pale or reddish skin. If you catch it at this stage, gentle rewarming prevents permanent damage. Get inside, place affected areas against warm skin. Armpits work well for warming hands. Don't rub the area. Don't use direct heat like a space heater or fireplace. Deeper frostbite causes hard, waxy-looking skin. The tissue is actually frozen solid. This requires medical treatment. Do not attempt to rewarm severe frostbite yourself unless you're in a situation where medical help is hours away and you have no choice. Rewarming frostbitten tissue is extremely painful and must be done properly. The best approach to frostbite is prevention. Cover all exposed skin in extreme cold. Multiple thin layers are better than one thick layer. Base layer should be synthetic or wool that wicks moisture away from skin. Cotton is terrible for cold weather because it holds moisture and will make you colder. Insulation layer traps air. Fleece works well. Down works if it stays dry. Outer layer blocks wind and repels moisture. A good winter coat, insulated gloves or mittens, warm hat that covers ears, scarf or face mask for your face. Mittens are warmer than gloves because your fingers share heat. In extreme cold, mittens are the better choice. Make sure your boots are insulated and rated for the temperatures you'll face. Wet feet lose heat rapidly. Now, I promised at the 9-minute mark I'd walk through what happens at different temperatures. We're past that, so let me deliver. At 0 degrees Fahrenheit with no wind, you can be outside for extended periods if properly dressed. Frostbite risk is low. Hypothermia risk is low if you're active and generating body heat. At 0 degrees with 30-mile-per-hour winds, wind chill is -19. Frostbite possible on exposed skin in 30 minutes. Hypothermia risk increases. Limit outdoor time. At -10 degrees with 30-mile-per-hour winds, wind chill is -31. Frostbite on exposed skin in 10 minutes. Hypothermia risk high. Avoid prolonged exposure. At -20 degrees with 30-mile-per-hour winds, wind chill is -43. Frostbite on exposed skin in 5 minutes. Hypothermia risk extreme. Minimize outdoor exposure to absolute necessities only. These aren't guidelines. These are survival thresholds. Below -30 wind chill, being outside becomes life-threatening even with proper clothing. Your gear has limits. Cold this extreme finds weaknesses in any protection. If you must be outside in these conditions, have a plan. Know where warming shelters are. Have multiple layers of clothing. Check weather constantly. Don't go alone if possible. Tell someone where you're going and when you'll return. Carry a charged phone. But for most people, the right answer at -30 wind chill is stay inside, period. Now, let me talk about what happens if your heat fails during this extreme cold. First, recognize the emergency immediately. If your furnace stops working, or if power goes out, you're in a race against time. Your home will lose heat rapidly when outside temperatures are extreme. How fast depends on insulation, home size, and outside temperature. A well-insulated small home might maintain warmth for several hours. A poorly insulated large home could drop below freezing within an hour or two. Your first action is call for help. If it's a furnace issue, call your heating company. If it's a power outage, report it to your utility company. But don't wait for help to arrive before taking survival actions. Second action is reduce the space you're trying to heat. You can't keep an entire house warm with body heat alone or with small backup heat sources. Choose the smallest room that can accommodate your family, usually a bathroom or small bedroom. Close doors and hang blankets over the doorway to trap heat. Close vents in other rooms if you can. Concentrate everyone in this one space. Third action is add insulation. Hang blankets over windows. Windows are where most heat escapes. Cover them, wear multiple layers of clothing, hats and gloves inside if necessary. Get sleeping bags or heavy blankets. The goal is to create a warm microenvironment in one small space. Fourth action is use backup heat if you have it safely. Fireplace if you have one and chimney is clear. Generator if you have one and it's positioned properly. Critical safety point. Generators must be at least 20 feet away from your house, outside, with good ventilation. Carbon monoxide from generators kills people every year. Never run a generator indoors or in an attached garage. Space heaters if you have them, but with extreme caution. Space heaters cause fires. Never leave them unattended. Keep them away from anything flammable. Don't overload electrical circuits. If you have no backup heat, body heat and insulation are your tools. Multiple people in a small, insulated space can maintain temperature above freezing using only body heat. This is why I mentioned possibly setting up a tent inside your chosen room. A tent inside a room provides another layer of insulation and concentrates body heat even more. Fifth action is protect your pipes. If you lose heat and your home temperature drops toward freezing, your pipes will freeze. Frozen pipes burst. When they thaw, you have flooding and thousands of dollars in damage. Open all faucets to a slow drip. Moving water is less likely to freeze. Open cabinet doors under sinks to allow warm air to circulate around pipes. Know where your main water shutoff is. If pipes do freeze, shutting off the main valve before they burst minimizes damage. At the 17-minute mark, I promised information on surviving heat failure. We're past that, so let me deliver additional details. If you're going to be without heat for an extended period, you need calories. Your body burns significantly more calories trying to stay warm in cold temperatures. Eat regularly. High-calorie foods are best. Fats and proteins provide sustained energy. Stay hydrated. You might not feel thirsty in cold weather, but dehydration still happens. Your body uses water to regulate temperature. Drink regularly even if you're not thirsty. Stay active but don't sweat. Light movement generates body heat. But if you exert yourself so much that you sweat, and then that sweat cools, you'll get colder. The key is moderate activity that keeps blood flowing without causing perspiration. Monitor everyone for signs of hypothermia or frostbite. Children and elderly are most vulnerable. Watch for shivering, confusion, slurred speech, loss of coordination. These require immediate action. If you have a vehicle and your home becomes uninhabitable due to cold, your vehicle can be a warming shelter. Run the engine for heat, but only if the exhaust pipe is clear of snow. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills people who run vehicles in garages or with blocked exhaust pipes. Run the engine for 10 to 15 minutes every hour, not continuously. You'll run out of gas. Crack a window on the downwind side for ventilation. Have emergency supplies in your vehicle. Blanket, food, water. Now, let me talk about checking on vulnerable people during extreme cold. Elderly neighbors, especially those living alone, are at extreme risk during cold like this. Many elderly people keep their homes cooler than they should to save on heating costs. What's barely tolerable at 0 degrees becomes life-threatening at -20. Check on elderly neighbors. Make sure they have heat. Make sure they're keeping their home warm enough. Make sure they have food. Offer to help with errands so they don't have to go outside. A 5-minute phone call or visit could save a life. Homeless populations are in crisis during extreme cold. Shelters fill up. Not everyone gets inside. People die from exposure. If you see someone outside in these conditions who looks like they might not have shelter, call authorities. Many cities have outreach teams for exactly this situation. People with medical conditions that affect circulation or body temperature regulation are also at high risk. Diabetes, heart disease, thyroid conditions, certain medications all can impair your body's ability to regulate temperature. If you have these conditions, be extra cautious. Outdoor workers face extreme risk. Construction workers, utility workers, delivery drivers, anyone whose job requires outdoor work. Employers have responsibility to provide adequate breaks, warm shelter, and proper protective equipment. Workers have responsibility to recognize when conditions are too dangerous and to refuse unsafe work. 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. Your body is a gift from God. Protecting it from extreme cold is honoring that gift. This isn't being weak or overly cautious. This is being wise. Before I close, let me give you key survival points for this extreme cold period. Temperature and wind chill forecasts. Highs in single digits or teens for upper Midwest Thursday through Saturday. Overnight lows below zero. Wind chills -20 to -35. Life-threatening conditions. Frostbite timeline. At -20 wind chill, 30 minutes. At -30, 10 minutes. At -45 minutes. Cover all exposed skin, no exceptions. Hypothermia warning signs. Uncontrollable shivering, then stopping shivering. Confusion, slurred speech, loss of coordination. Medical emergency. Get them inside. Warm gradually. Call 911. Heat failure preparation. Have backup heat ready now. Know how to isolate one room. Have extra blankets and warm clothing. Know where your water shutoff is. Have emergency supplies. Vulnerable population checks. Elderly neighbors. Homeless individuals. People with medical conditions. Outdoor workers. Check on them. Help them. Report concerns to authorities. If you found this survival information valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you could like this video. This information could save someone's life. Subscribe if you haven't. Extreme cold continues through the weekend. Updates will be necessary. Share with people who need this information. Anyone in the upper Midwest. Anyone with elderly relatives or neighbors. Anyone who works outdoors. Comment your city and state so I know who's facing this dangerous cold. Psalm 91:15 and 16. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. God promises to be with us in trouble, but he also gave us intelligence and wisdom to prepare for danger. Use both. Trust God while taking responsible action to protect yourself and others. This extreme cold is dangerous. Prepare seriously. Check on vulnerable people. Stay inside as much as possible. And may God protect everyone through this brutal cold snap. Stay warm, stay safe. I'll see you in tomorrow's update.